Okay, so welcome to StoryTime Podcast. We've tried this several times. We had some things um, up and going with it. So do you have all the volume on here checked? Yep. We can hear you now, Bucky.
Yes, Rose, I can hear you just fine.
Yeah, you could hear me, but in the recording, it wouldn't pick up the desktop audio, which we are streaming this
Oh,
through Discord. It isn't
yeah,
my server, but we have your own. I would implore to join Storytime server, the Tales on the Winds of Time, which is actually on the screen, which Bucky cannot see it currently, but we'll see when it's uploaded. And we were talking about angering the Facebook gods, but angering the gods that want those that want to keep a certain narrative under control. So anything that would be deemed as story time or breaking past the old paradigm thought forms and boxes that people are currently in, like politics and religion and everything, is not deemed worthable content to be on live streaming spaces. So we are recording them. Um, this also brings up another, instead of even going through YouTube right now, may actually put this content in through BitChute, Rumble, or any one of those platforms to help get more out there. So, but we are doing Tales on the Winds of Times with Bucky. These are stories that he's come up with. A lot of them very recently. So thank you.
yeah. We've been really grinding the stories here, Rose. So many that you're not even completely caught up yet, are you?
No, I'm not. I've been busy as well with other stuff in the 3D, and so every time I look, I'm like, oh my god, there's like 50 new stories. How am I going to get through these?
I know that one day I put up like 12 of them, 10 or 12, something like that. So,
I
yeah,
I make sure that the ones that you put up, I don't. So there is a lot of white on my screen as we're using a Discord
yeah,
server that I do not click on them, and there's a lot of ones that are notifications that have popped up that you've posted, and I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of stories.
yeah,
So you have enough. Obviously, you've made a first book, Tales on the Winds of Times. You have a second one coming out in the next year coming up. And at this rate, you might have like two more with the amount that you've put out in the last, um, I don't even know, a couple months maybe.
yeah. Because even in that one, just Tales Under the Great Tree, which we've done on the Facebook Live, we have like 39 or 40 or something like that. So that could be a book just by itself.
Yeah. And then you have all these lovely like little sections, like we were going to talk about Skinwalker Ranch, the misadventures in Skinwalker Ranch.
Yeah.
um,
I need to come up with a better title for that, don't you think?
yeah, you do. And again, if not in the live on Facebook, I was gonna, as I unmuted and it stopped us, I was gonna say you actually touch on a lot of stuff in the one that we haven't read that we're going to read. You touch on a lot of the other lore that we have out there, right? So
Yeah.
not just Skinwalker stuff, but things that could surround it, things that maybe people are looking into, and just in general, what people don't understand, like I said, in the reality space. There's a lot going on out there that people are deemed crazy for bringing it up or whatnot, but they're living it. They're out there in it, so they get to see it every day. How do you invalidate their experience it when they're experiencing it?
Yeah, the whole aliens thing, is that what you're talking about?
We have that. You have like we still have Bigfoot. We have crop circles. We have there's all kinds of stuff out there that people just they're deemed crazy for experiencing it by people who haven't experienced it.
Yeah,
So just because it's not your experience to gone through doesn't mean to invalidate somebody else's. It's
yeah.
all about perspective.
Yep, Rose, we do not dismiss other people's perspective on things, even though it may sound outlandish. Of course, you can take that little bit of their experience and be like, well, if I encounter something like that, then I know like there are other people that can validate what I experienced.
Yes. And some of recent conversations with some people that seem to be very argumentative lately. I'm going to say is they're experiencing things inside of their space that they're able to only understand, like a video game, only able to understand in that server they're playing with, in that game that they're playing with. So we could come in with a source code, a truth code, and put it in there, but they're only able to run those codes in with the server or perspective that they're in. So it doesn't mean that they're wrong necessarily. It just means that they're in maybe a little bit more of a contracted point of view or a different trajectory point as we're going towards, everybody's going towards the top of the mountain.
Yeah,
So,
because like you told me before, there's all kinds of trails to the top of the mountain. It's just you can't disapprove of somebody's trail just because you're not on it.
right. It's a road that, as Source in this Matrix wanted to explore, it is still valid. It still has a learning tool, a learning element to it. So everybody, we can learn from each other as soon as we understand that we're here to understand each other and not to misunderstand by views on from the points of view of ego.
Yeah.
All right. So without further ado, we have Skinwalker Ranch Misadventures opening the door again. We did have, there's 3 other parts to this before, and they were in the Facebook's lives. We could go back and explore those. I know this is probably the first podcast we've done in a while. We can actually go back to explore those, I would think, at a different time. I say we start kind of where opening the door again,
Yeah.
because it was a really good, even if you started there, it's actually really good. And then I think we were going to do the next 2 after that, and then
Yeah.
another series, or at least the end of a different series.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you want to start like you did before,
Okay.
and then I could probably read the next one then.
Okay. This is opening the door again. In the quiet town of Fort Duchesne, whispers of the Skinwalker Ranch had become a part of local lore. A tapestry woven with tales of UFO sightings, cattle mutilations, and eerie encounters with something otherworldly. The legend grew, especially after the mysterious disappearances of 3 teenagers, Mark, Mia, and Jake, nearly 4 years prior. Their friend, Sarah, had been found unconscious near the ranch that same night, emerging from the darkness with no memory of the events that transpired. She was hospitalized for weeks, recovering just as mysteriously as she had fallen ill. Now, as the autumn leaves began to fall, a new trio of friends, Liam, Emily, and Max, decided to explore the infamous ranch, drawn by the chilling stories and unresolved fate of their predecessors. They were determined to uncover the truth behind the eerie tales and the fate of the missing teens. As they approached the ranch, the sun dipped below the horizon, casting long shadows over the sprawling 480 acres. The air felt thick with anticipation, and a sense of unease settled in their stomachs. Are we really doing this? Emily asked, her voice just above a whisper. Of course, we can't let fear stop us, Liam replied, trying to sound braver than he felt. Max, ever the skeptic, shrugged. It's probably just urban legends, but I'm in. They climbed over the weathered fence, its creaking hinges echoing the fears that lingered in their minds. The landscape was both haunting and beautiful, an expanse of desert shrub dotted with dilapidated structures that held memories of past lives. As they ventured deeper, they stumbled upon an old barn, its doors hanging ajar as if inviting them in. Inside, they found the remnants of the ranch's history, rusted tools, old photographs, and strange markings on the walls. Max pointed to one of the photos. Look at this. That's the group that went missing. Their hearts raced as they recognized the faces of Mark, Mia, and Jake. Suddenly, the temperature dropped. A chill swept through the barn, and the friends exchanged worried glances. Did you feel that? Emily asked, her voice visible, her breath visible in the suddenly cold air. Liam nodded, a sense of dread creeping over him. Let's not stay here too long, he suggested. But before they could leave, a low hum filled the air. resonating through their bones. They stepped outside, eyes wide as they searched the night sky. A strange light danced above the ranch, pulsating with a rhythm that felt almost alive. Is that a UFO? Max stammered, pointing upwards. The light shifted, darting across the sky before disappearing behind the mountains. In that moment, the ground beneath them trembled slightly, causing the friends to stumble. Maybe we should go, Emily said, her voice quaking. But curiosity tugged at them, and they pressed on, moving towards a clearing where the stories of crop circles had emerged. In the clearing, they found flattened patches of grass, spirals twisting in intricate patterns. This is where they found the crop circles, Liam whispered, awe mixing with fear. Suddenly, a rustling sound echoed from the nearby bushes, and a figure emerged. A tall, shadowy silhouette that sent them reeling back in terror. Run! Max shouted, and they bolted in the opposite direction, adrenaline coursing through their veins. As they sprinted, they could hear the sound of heavy footsteps behind them, echoing in the still night air. They reached the edge of the ranch, breathless and terrified, but the figure seemed to vanish as quickly as it had appeared. Panting, they regrouped and glanced back at the ranch. What was that? Emily gasped, her eyes wide with disbelief. I don't know, but we need to go now, Liam insisted, leading the way back towards the road. The shadows of the ranch loomed behind them, a dark reminder of the mysteries that lay within. As they reached the outskirts of Fort Duchesne, the fear began to dissipate, replaced by an unsettling curiosity. We didn't find answers, Max said, but we know something is out there. Over the following weeks, they couldn't shake the encounter. They researched more about Skinwalker Ranch, diving into the stories of the missing teens and Sarah's recovery. They learned that many who ventured too close to the ranch spoke of strange visions, lost time, and the feeling of being watched. But one night, as Emily was reading through old news articles, she stumbled upon a report that chilled her to the bone. Sarah, the friend who had survived, was seen near the ranch again, standing at the edge of the property, staring into the darkness, an enigmatic smile on her face. The trio realized that the mysteries of Skinwalker Ranch were far from over. Their experience had only opened the door, hinting that the truth was more elusive than they could ever imagine. With a shared glance, they knew they would not be the last to seek answers about the ranch's dark secrets. They felt a pull towards the unknown, a compulsion to return, even if it meant confronting the shadows that had claimed their friends.
So you touch upon a lot of things in that particular story as you were talking about. So like we have the UFO, you have crop circles, which I guess there's a lot of information on crop circles, and I know you take from source material. That it's electromagnetic. You also get those light orbs that kind of follow it. That's where people think UFOs. But then even again the figure at the end, which can imply a skinwalker, or even like we see shadow men, or what's the slender men, but not quite that.
Mm. Yeah,
So, but you get all of that in within that one part of this story, the series that you're talking about, and there, I guess there's a lot of stuff going on around actual Skinwalker Ranch now. And anyways, there.
yeah. And then you have Blind Frog, up about an hour and a half from Skinwalker, which
Mhm.
has become a real big hot spot for. It's like the second coming of Skinwalker Ranch.
It's funny. So it's something that I talked about recently with somebody else, and we talked about what would be a Tibetan thought form, which is a topa, meaning that if people believe in it, it kind of goes out and actually manifests into the reality space around you. So the more people that believe in even just the legends or anything surrounding it, it can go out and push out of that space. But you also have the construct, the matrixing system in itself, the land, Earth, Gaia. its own ley lines where energy kind of goes anyway. So these energies can actually go to another space or follow a line to another space, as you're talking about.
Yeah,
Stop opening doors.
pretty. Yeah, but pretty interesting.
There's a
Pretty interesting when you get to looking into it, Rhodes. You could go down quite a rabbit hole on some of those
I think in my younger years I was down quite a bit of those rabbit holes. I think in my
things.
teens I was like, okay, I want to know everything about why is this happening? Why how are they experiencing it? What are they seeing? What are they experiencing? And is it just simply they can't explain it, or is it because there's a large collective of people manifesting it? How does that happen? So it is interesting.
Yep, it is.
Okay, so we have, do you want me to read the next one?
Yeah, and then I'll read the last one, and then we could decide who's gonna read the one after that.
Okay. All right. So what have we opened? As the days turned into weeks, the memories of their terrifying encounter at Skinwalker Ranch haunted Emily, Liam, and Max. The chilling image of the shadowy figure lingered in their minds, and an insatiable curiosity gnawed at them. Emily, in particular, became fixated on unraveling the mystery surrounding Sarah and the ranch, diving deep into old newspaper articles, online forums, and local legends. One evening, as the autumn wind howled outside, Emily sat hunched over her laptop, a dim light illuminating her determined face. The screen glowed with the images of Sarah, juxtaposed with articles detailing the disappearance of Mark, Mia, and Jake. As she scrolled, she noticed a recurring theme every year. On the anniversary of the teen's disappearance, Sarah was spotted near the ranch. Each sighting was accompanied by strange occurrences, flickering lights, odd noises, and reports of unusual behavior. Why would she keep going back? Emily murmured to herself, her fingers typing furiously. She pulled up a timeline of events, marking each of Sarah's visits with a red dot. The pattern was undeniable. Sarah returned to the ranch as if drawn by an unseen force. Liam, observing Emily's growing obsession, tried to intervene. Emily, maybe we should stop digging. It's not healthy to fixate on this, he cautioned, concern etched in his face. But Emily brushed him off, her mind racing with possibilities. We need to understand what happened to her, what happened to all of them. Max, who had been quieter than usual, sat on the edge of the couch, staring vacantly at the wall. It's just a story, right? Urban legends, he muttered. But even he could feel the weight of the ranch's shadows creeping into their lives. As the anniversary approached, the trio found themselves increasingly unsettled. The nights grew longer, and reality began to warp around them. Emily's dreams were invaded by visions of the ranch, flashes of the shadowy figure, Sarah's enigmatic smile, and the pulsing lights that had danced above them. Each morning she awoke with a gnawing sense of dread, as if the ranch was calling to her. Liam too felt the strain. He began to experience episodes of disorientation, where time seemed to slip away, and he would find himself lost in thought for hours. He'd catch glimpses of dark shapes flitting at the corner of his vision, and it left him questioning his sanity. But it was Max who changed the most. As the anniversary drew closer, he became withdrawn, often staring blankly into the distance as if he were somewhere else entirely. His laughter faded, replaced by a haunting look in his eyes. One night, after a particularly vivid dream, Max confessed, I feel different, like something is inside of me. Emily and Liam exchanged worried glances, the weight of their experiencing settling heavily on their shoulders. You're just stressed, Max. We all are, Emily reassured him, but inside she feared the truth. On the night of the anniversary, the trio made a pact to confront their fears. They would return to the ranch together, hoping to face whatever darkness had taken root in their lives. As they approached the familiar boundary, a storm brewed in the distance, casting ominous clouds over the landscape. The air felt charged, buzzed with an energy that made their skin prickle. As they stepped inside the ranch, the memories of their last visit flooded back, but this time the atmosphere was thicker, almost suffocating. They ventured to the clearing where they had witnessed the crop circles, the ground beneath them whispering secrets of the past. Suddenly, Max halted, his expression blank. I can hear them, he murmured, his voice distant. They're calling to me, Emily, and Liam turned to him, worried. etching deep lines into their faces. Max, what are you talking about? Liam asked. But it was as if Max didn't hear him. His eyes glazed over and he began to walk towards the center of the clearing, drawn by an unseen force. Max, stop! Emily cried, reaching out to grab his arm, but he shrugged her off with an unnatural strength. You don't understand. I have to go to them, he whispered, the words slithering out of his mouth like a serpent. In that moment, the shadows around them thickened, swirling and coalescing into a dark mass that pulsed with malevolence. Liam and Emily stumbled backwards, fear gripping their hearts as they watched Max step deeper into the darkness. Max, Liam shouted, but the sound was swallowed by the encroaching shadows. The air grew colder, and the hum they had heard before returned, echoing through the clearing. Max's laughter, now twisted and howl, filled the space, sending chills down their spines. Join me, he called, his voice warped as if they were layered with countless others. They're waiting for you. Emily felt her sanity slip as the darkness wrapped around her mind, whispering doubts, fears, and promises of answers. We have to get him back, she yelled at Liam, but the shadows danced with a taunting glee, their grip tightening. With desperation fueling their actions, Liam lunged for Max, but the darkness erupted around them, sending him tumbling back. Emily, tears streaming down her face, reached for her friend. Max, please, fight it, she pleaded, but it was too late. He was lost, consumed by the very force they had run from. As they escaped the ranch, the shadows whispered behind them, a haunting reminder of the secrets that lay within. Max was gone, and as they fled into the night, Emily and Liam felt the pull of the ranch lingering in their hearts. The truth they had sought became a dark curse, intertwining their fates with those who had come before them. They had ventured into the unknown, and now they were forever marked by the shadows of Skinwalker Ranch.
Scary.
Kind of in line with the little bit of possession, but also what some would call ghost sickness or possession in that line because it's like creeps into your mind.
Yeah,
I like that.
scary.
That is scary. We're doing scary stuff, and we are going to get into, I believe, some very scary Christmas stories later on too.
Yeah.
Is it like the Nightmare Before Christmas?
I was thinking about doing like a Nightmare Before Christmas thing, but it's just that you gotta get source material and then take source material and tweak it so that don't get copyrighted.
Right.
Because when you do anything near close to what they have, they could come back and copyright you.
We also, I mean, if you really think of even that the movie itself, though, and what we're talking about even in here is we're talking about multidimensional thought frames. Everything's
Yeah,
consciousness, so anything that you can think of, even stories. This story is actually playing out for real in another universe somewhere else. So as you're writing
yeah,
it, it is something that is reality somewhere.
yeah,
Which means that even the thought concepts of holidays or rituals or traditions and things that we think maybe like Santa Claus and the Easter Bunny probably are real somewhere in some universe. Sounds fantastical, but it's real somewhere.
yep.
We keep having
Fantastical but real.
because we keep having all these doors that are opening and closing, like the next story.
You know, I don't come up with the title until I finish the story and read it to make sure that it's correct.
That I can understand, as a lot of my paintings I don't come up with until I've thrown fun with them either, the title. So
Yeah. So, do you want to read this next one, or do you want me to read?
um you could read the next one.
The finale. It's the finale, Rose. Okay, this is Can't Close the Door. The morning after their harrowing escape from Skinwalker Ranch, Emily and Liam found themselves in Fort Duchesne, the weight of their ordeal pressing heavily on their chests. The sun hung low in the sky, casting an eerie glow over the town as they trudged towards the police station. The events of the previous night replayed in their minds, a nightmare sloop they couldn't escape from. As they entered the station, the atmosphere felt thick with tension. The small front desk officer glanced up, his expression shifting from indifference to concern as he quickly assessed the duo before him. Emily's eyes were red rimmed from sleepless nights, and Liam's face was pale, shadowed by the stress of what they had witnessed. Can I help you? The officer asked, his tone suggesting that he already knew the answer. We need to report a missing person, Emily managed to say, voice wavering. It's our friend, Max. He disappeared at Skinwalker Ranch. The officer raised an eyebrow, skepticism flooding his features. Skinwalker Ranch, huh? You sure you want to talk about that? After a brief moment of hesitation, they were ushered into an interrogation room, the sterile walls closing in around them. A few minutes later, two officers entered, one of whom introduced himself as Officer Martinez, while the other took notes in a notepad. For what felt like hours, they were questioned relentlessly. Start from the beginning, Martinez instructed, his voice steady but unyielding. They recounted their story repeatedly, how they had gone to the ranch, witnessed the shadows, and lost Max to the dark pool of the clearing. But with each retelling, their words seemed to drift further from belief. Are you sure you didn't just lose him in the woods? The other officer asked, his tone condescending. You know, kids go missing out there all the time. Dangerous. It's dangerous. We didn't just lose him, he was taken, Liam shouted, his frustration boiling over. But the officers remained unconvinced. You're saying he was taken by Shadow? That doesn't make sense, Martinez replied, crossing his arms. Listen, we get a lot of wild stories out here, but we need facts. Two were the last people to see him. What happened? Despite their unwavering insistence that something supernatural had occurred, the officer's skepticism only deepened. They pressed Liam and Emily about their whereabouts before and after Max's disappearance, searching for inconsistencies in their stories. Each question felt like a blade slicing through their already frayed nerves. Finally, their ordeal ended with the officers promising to investigate and bring in more Bureau of Indian Affairs police, who would then loop in the county sheriff and the state highway patrol. As they exited the interrogation room, Liam felt the weight of their situation settle heavily on his shoulders. Days turned into week, days turned into a week, and the investigation unfolded in a way they hadn't anticipated. Despite their consistent accounts, they were viewed with suspicion. The supernatural elements of their story only seemed to bolster the idea that they were somehow involved in Max's disappearance. How could they explain what had transpired in a way that felt rational? Rumors began to swirl around town, whispers in the streets that Emily and Liam had something to hide. They were the only suspect in Mac they were the only suspects in Max's case, the last people to see him. The police's inquiries into their personal lives unearthed a tangled web of assumptions, insinuations, and accusations. Emily and Liam found themselves entangled in a nightmare far worse than the one at the ranch. They were plagued by the feeling of being watched, the weight of guilt, unfounded but heavy. The more they tried to clear their names, the deeper the suspicions grew. As the investigation dragged on, they realized that the truth they sought to uncover, the mystery of Max's disappearance, had spiraled into a dark chasm of misunderstanding and fear. They were left with the haunting knowledge that their bond with Max and the secrets of Skinwalker Ranch had marked them forever. In the weeks that followed, they found solace in each other's company, the only other soul who understood the burden they carried. But deep down, the chilling thought gnawed at them. The shadows of the ranch had followed them, intertwining their fates with those who had vanished before, and as they faced a world that refused to believe their story, they wondered if they would ever truly be free of the ranch's dark influence. Max was gone, lost to the darkness, and as they stared into the uncertain future, Liam and Emily felt the chilling grip of the ranch tightening around their hearts, a constant reminder of the choices that had brought them to this moment. The truth remains shrouded in shadows. They were left to grapple with the consequences of a reality that no one else could understand.
Bending the lines of reality itself, huh?
Yeah.
Different time, different place. And yet, it's really not the end because you have much more after that that we're not going to get into this time, though.
Mm, yep.
Dun dun dun, cliffhangers.
I think I have 19 in that. 19 in that one. With the three that you just did.
Yeah, there's
Probably.
a big chunk there of white that I
Yep.
haven't read through yet. So, and I haven't read the other one. That was the first time even me reading that, the last one we just talked about. So, thank you.
I always like that. The end. Just the end. How they went to the cops, but even though the cops had probably experienced that, because of course, if you live around, because I live near Fort Machine, just above Fort Machine, like maybe like 5 minutes from there. But but even I have family that lives down there in Fort Duchesne, right? I have family that lives up the road because Fort Duchesne, Right Rocks, and Ouray are the original part, the original settlements in on the reservation, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's where most of the people live is either down there in Fort Duchesne or up there in White Rocks or down there in Ouray. And so you don't even really have to live around here very long before you start hearing stories about things going on. So I've grown up hearing about things like that.
It it kind of brings the question, at least for me, to ask: are these things, have they always been part of the legends? It did before even settlers or anybody, colonizers or anything like that, would come in.
Well, one of the original stories that you hear about Skinwalker Ranch is the Utes said that no one was to settle there. In that it's basically like a canyon, like a slot canyon, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because that place was just bad. Nothing could prosper there. That's why a lot of people say that if you take like animals there, that's why they're taken or like mutilated or whatever. Because nobody's been able to make it a functioning ranch for very long before they end up losing basically everything that they brought there.
So again, it could just be a space that is, well, very much tied in with Portal to. There's places like that even in older places in Europe and
Yeah,
whatnot in Asia where it's just a place where you don't go because there's other things there. What we call the fairy realm, which the dark fairy realm or the fey realm, right? But you're talking about a different dimensional space where other things live, other entities live, other people, other creatures live there. So basically being encroaching on their territory, or at least they're
yeah,
the portal that opens, a door that opens in that space. But it's interesting that again everything's coming out more in the open because, as you said, ranching. It's not like indigenous people sat there and ranched there. So the more
yeah,
that people came into Westerners to colonize, that it would get more a reputation for not being prosperous or finding a space that just a lot of stories surrounding there.
yeah,
Wonder if it's more so because if it's disrespectful to the land to even go there, to even put, you're told not to go there, you respected it, and then somebody goes there, let's put
yeah,
a
pretty
ranch on
much.
there. Like why?
Because even you come here, most people won't even talk about Skinwalker Ranch. That's how uh, intertwined with the belief it
Mhm.
is that most people won't even talk about, especially at night.
Well, it's a respectful thing. I mean, like it's like people all of a sudden if they decide to go find the woodsman or Bigfoot to go hunt them instead of respecting them, there are people that are there that in the Blue Mountain Range that do respect that there's something else living there and they respect that.
Yeah,
So And then you have the disrespect of people coming in and, like I said, even talking about it. There's even, I think, there, like I said, European, Asian places that are areas that they don't, to respect it, they don't go there. They don't talk about it. They don't interact with it. It is their space. That bubble of dimensional layer reality space is for what is there.
Yeah.
Like the equivalent of somebody just coming into your house and like, I'm gonna put a ranch up.
Mhm. Yeah. But you know that I wrote most of those in the middle of the night because I find that I'm more creative towards that side in the middle of the night.
It's
I
funny.
don't know what that says about me, but
Actually, it's funny you say that because recently I would say the lack of sleep is because more up during the night because it's a lot quieter. As a
yeah,
area where you're working in, and being somebody who's attuned to energies and frequencies and empathic enough of energies of people around them, it's quieter when more people are asleep. They're not thinking as much. Those thoughts are constantly bouncing off of the little dust motes on the tails of the winds of time. So it's easier
yeah,
to have a quiet space to be able to focus on it and be and get it out there. So I can understand that.
yeah. So which one of the said
I believe the
said
last two stories from the Christmas stories, and we did read
oh
them.
the Gorruk? Yeah,
Yes, we did read those in another Facebook Live, and like I said, we can go back to redo that, especially as we're approaching the holiday season and Christmas season. And there's a lot of legends and myths and all that that surround even just there's Yule, there's a lot of different holidays that go on, a lot of different older ones. But I think the
yeah,
last two, and then I believe, yeah, we were going to do a different one. We're going to do a totally different kind of genre in a way.
yeah,
So do you want me to read? Do you want me to read
yeah.
that one?
You could read You Will Pay for Your Disrespect. I think you'll like that one. A Fate That Binds. I think you'll like the end of that one.
Okay, so you could read the
Because
ending.
I really like the end of that. I really like the end of A Fate That Binds because
Awesome.
it gives the whole, you know how, because Gorok is my interpretation of Krampus. This is just my spin on Krampus.
Hmm.
So there's several ways to punish somebody for their disrespect to tradition or a teaching story or you know,
Hmm.
as we'll see. But yeah, not to give anything.
Okay, I will read this one and you read the last one. So you will pay for your disrespect. And the heart of the ancient forest, where shadows danced beneath the towering trees and the air held the crispness of winter, there lived a boy who scoffed at the tales woven by the elders. He believed the stories of Gorruk were mere fabrications designed to keep children in line. They would only tell these tales to make us behave, he would say to his friends with a dismissive wave of his hand. Gorruk isn't real. As the winter solstice approached, the night grew colder, and the forest seemed to whisper secrets. The boy's defiance ignited a reckless curiosity within him. On the night of the solstice, he made a bold decision. He would venture into the woods, seeking out Gork to prove the legends wrong. Under the pale light of the moon, he slipped away from his home, the trees looming like silent sentinels around him. The crunch of snow beneath his feet was the only sound as he pressed deeper into the forest. Excitement mingled with the chill that wrapped around him. The air felt charged, as if the forest itself was watching. As he wandered, the shadows grew thicker, and soon he sensed a presence behind him. Suddenly Gork emerged from the darkness, his imposing figure illuminated by the moonlight. The boy's bravado faltered, yet he stood tall, defiantly challenging the beast. You're just a story. I'm not afraid of you. Gork's eyes glowed with an ancient fire, and his voice resonated like thunder. You tread where respect is demanded, child. Your laughter has disregarded the warnings of those who have come before you. The boy laughed, the sound echoing in the stillness. You don't scare me. Show me what you really are. In an instant, Gorok pounced, capturing the boy in his heavy sack. The world around him turned dark as he jostled and pulled into the depths of the forest. Panic surged as he realized the gravity of the situation. No longer was this a game. He had ventured too far into the realm of the unknown. When Gorruk finally set the sack down, the boy tumbled out into a clearing, the moon casting an airy glow over the scene. He looked up in terror, seeing Gorruk towering above him, an embodiment of the forest's ancient power. Your arrogance has brought you here, and you have shown that you are beyond redemption, Gorruk declared, his voice deep and resonant. You dismiss the tales that bind the spirit of the wild, believing them mere tricks to keep you in line. Such ignorance cannot be allowed to influence others. The boy's heart raced, and desperation filled his voice. Please, I didn't mean it. I just wanted to prove that you are not real. But Gorruk remained unmoved, his gaze unwavering. The spirit of winter demands respect, and your laughter has brought only chaos. The only justice for your actions is to be consumed, and so that your spirit may not lead others astray. In that moment, the boy understood the weight of his defiance. He begged for mercy, but Gorruk's resolve was unyielding. With a heavy heart, Gorruk fulfilled the grim fate that awaited the boy, ensuring that his recklessness would not echo through the ages. As the shadows of the forest enveloped the clearing, the tales of Gorruk grew stronger among the villagers. The children, now filled with caution and respect, gathered around the fire each winter solstice to hear the stories of the guardian of the woods. They learned that the legends were not just warnings but vital lessons, preserving the balance between joy and reverence for the mysteries of life. And so the spirit of Gorruk watched over the ancient forest, a reminder that the stories of old were to be respected, for they had held the wisdom of the ages. Each year, as the snow fell gently upon the land, the villagers honored the tales, ensuring that the lessons learned would be carried forward, safeguarding their spirits for generations to come.
I really like that one.
I do.
How that one turned out.
I do. Don't defy.
Mm, yeah, I really like how that one turned out. Because you don't necessarily have to go into detail about what he did to him
Mhm.
in order for you to get the message that of what happened to him, you know?
You could even venture to what if Gorok had a way to silence, just no laughter, just become mute.
Oh, you'll see in the next one. I put that in the next one.
Oh,
That's an element that I put in the next one.
okay, so my intuition is kind of running away from me. I haven't read the next one, just so everybody knows. I have not read any of the ones that I'm reading. I have not read, so I don't
Mhm.
know. Okay,
Yep.
okay, you could prove the intuition part. Read the next one for us.
Okay. This is a fate that binds. In the village nestled at the edge of the ancient forest, the tales of Gorok had taken on a life of their own. The children, once filled with innocent curiosity, now listened with wide eyes as the elders warned them about the dark figure that roamed the woods. A guardian who demanded respect and obedience. Yet a group of brave, reckless children, tired of the fear that enveloped their nights, decided that they would put an end to Gorok's reign of terror. They believed that if they could trap Gorok, they would set free future generations from the nightmares that haunted them. As the winter solstice approached, the children devised a plan. Armed with nothing but bravado and a sense of adventure, they gathered in secret to discuss their strategy. We'll lure him into a clearing where the energy is dark and chaotic, one of the boys suggested, his voice trembling with excitement. We'll use the old legends against him. If we can trap him, we can show everyone he's just a story. The group agreed, their minds racing with visions of glory and fame. They gathered materials from the village, ropes, nets, and herbs said to carry the weight of ancient magic. They crafted a spell, their fingers fumbling over the strange symbols as they whispered incantations under their breath. The children believed their determination would outmatch the cunning of Gorok, and they set off into the heart of the forest, their laughter echoing through the trees. Under the waning moon, they reached a dark clearing, a place where shadows twisted and curled like smoke. The air was thick with anticipation, and they could almost feel the forest holding its breath, waiting to see what would unfold. They placed a trap, a net woven from their hopes and fears, At the center of the clearing, surrounding it with the herbs and symbols they had prepared, they waited in silence, hearts pounding with both fear and excitement. It wasn't long before the forest began to stir, the wind whispered warnings, and the branches creaked ominously. Suddenly, Gorok emerged from the darkness, his massive form a silhouette against the moonlit sky. The children's bravado flickered like a candle in the wind, but they stood their ground, ready to execute their plan. Gorok, one of the children shouted, voice trembling, we've come to trap you. Gorok's eyes glowed like the embers in the night. A low rumble of laughter escaped his lips. You dare to summon me, children? He boomed, his voice shaking the very ground beneath them. The children exchanged nervous glances, but their resolve held firm. They began to chant their spell, believing the power of their words could bind the ancient being. But Gorok was no mere beast, easily ensnared by the folly of children. With one swift motion, he leaped into the clearing, his body moving with an agility that belied his size. The net woven from their dreams fell short as he danced around it, a dark specter evading clumsy grasp. The children gasped, realizing their plan was unraveling before their eyes. In an instant, Gorak was upon them, his presence overwhelming. The air thickened with an ancient energy, and the children felt a creeping dread as they realized the gravity of their miscalculation. Do you think to challenge me, to disrespect the tales that protect your spirits? Gorok's voice resonated, each word a thunderclap in the still night. You are foolish to believe that your arrogance can go unpunished. Panic surged through the children as they scrambled to escape, but Gorok was faster, his long limbs stretching out like shadows. He captured them one by one, each child ensnared in the heavy sack he carried. The darkness engulfed them, and they found themselves jostled and pulled, their screams muffled by the weight of their own folly. Once deep in the woods, Gorok sat down in a hidden grove, a place untouched by light. The air was thick with an oppressive silence, broken only by the faint rustle of leaves. He released the children, who tumbled onto the forest floor, their faces pale with fear. They looked up to see Gorok towering above them, his form an embodiment of the very shadows they had dared to mock. Your laughter and bravado have brought you here, Gorok declared, his voice echoing through the trees. You sought to trap a spirit that exists beyond your understanding. Now you will learn the cost of your disrespect. One by one, Gorok approached the children, his ancient presence casting a suffocating gloom. He prepared them, not with malice, but with an inevitable, with an inevitability that came from the weight of their actions. You will not be consumed in anger, but in the understanding that the stories of old are meant to guide and protect. The first child, trembling was enveloped by Gorok's shadow, a soft glow emerging from within. The boy felt a warmth wash over him, and in that moment he understood that he was being absorbed into the very essence of the forest, becoming part of the tales that would echo through time. Gorok's form flickered, and the boy's spirit intertwined with the ancient woods, a lesson woven into the very fabric of the forest itself. The next child met a familiar fate, each one drawn into the depths of Gorok's being, their essence merging with the spirit of the wild. They felt their fear dissolve as they realized they were not being punished but transformed, becoming guardians of the stories they had once dismissed. And so Gorok consumed each child, their souls melding with the eternal lore of the forest. As they faded into the night, the whispers of their laughter became part of the rustling leaves and the gentle sighs of the wind, a reminder to all who would listen. The village, unaware of the fate that had befallen the brave children, continued to share tales of Gorok, their warnings now more potent and resonant. Each winter solstice, as the snow fell softly upon the land, they honored They honored the ancient spirit, knowing that the stories, rich with lessons, were the bridge between caution and curiosity, binding their spirits to the wisdom of the ages.
So the ones that were disrupting became the ones that would be the guardians.
Yeah.
In a way, not mute anymore. Well, mute, but in a different way. Not, but like you said, rustling in the wind. So mute is in a way as if not creating chaos, but very much that transformative around them. Which is actually a really good story. I do like the ending on that one.
Yeah, I really like how that one turned.
If you don't want to be turned into a tree, kids, don't mock your elders and the guardians of the forest and create chaos and stuff. Behave.
Yep. Or Brock's gonna come get you.
And then can you imagine now, maybe a few hundred years from now, people will be talking about the legend of Gorruk, which is a story that was written by Bucky.
Yep.
Don't, kids, don't do it. Gork's gonna come get you. Which is kind of funny if you think about it in that perspective.
Yeah.
Fun Christmas stories. Thank you, Bucky. Now, the next ones we kind of picked were, well, I kind of picked them out. I kind of don't usually have, I go very random with mine. Almost if I could have a spin the bottle and close my eyes and spin it and I go, what? All right, it's this story.
We could do that since you have a computer. You could just put a bunch of them into like one of those random spin the wheel things and do it that way.
Yeah, we could do it that way.
Yeah.
I think that would be a good idea, ones that we haven't done read yet. Um, but we picked, and it's funny because I'm trying to find them. I thought they were at the bottom of the list. Where is it?
Uh,
Oh, here they are at
I
the
thought
bottom.
you said we who. Yeah.
Yeah, they're at the
You
bottom of
said
the
we who
list.
guide you, right?
Yes. We Who Guide You series, and there's two of them. But the ironic part earlier, as we were talking about, I was talking about who guides the guides. Because sometimes the guides kind of require some guidance. Sometimes.
Did you just go outside of yourself and be like, self, where are we going?
Um, I honestly do that. So as when I'm doing readings with people, reading in the library, normally I'm like a calculator. They ask a question, you get an answer. So then I turn the calculator on myself and go, okay, I need an answer. So I just turn and talk to myself, basically. But
Yeah.
it seems that, to be honest, in the world currently, like we're talking about thought paradigms here and consciousness, that the majority of what would be a conscious system that is running here quite isn't, it's not quite made for people outside of it, or people that are
Yeah.
exploring the outside or not quite in it because they're not in that thought form. So it makes it a little difficult for us to navigate in a world that way. And yet the people
Yeah.
come to that for guidance because we're not inside of it, so we see outside of the perspective in order to offer them, hey, maybe you don't want to go left over there because there's a giant pitfall. But kind of end up going that way a little bit time anyway. So
Mm.
which I don't know what inspired you to write these stories. Who We Who Guide You series. I don't know what inspired you to write them, but I just happened to pick them, and I think I scanned maybe one or half of one, and I was like, I don't want to ruin it. So,
Yeah.
do you want me to read it and then you read the last one?
Yeah. Because
Okay.
I read the last one, remember?
All right. So, it is We Who Guide You series. This one is renowned in history. And a time long forgotten, when the moon hung low and the stars whispered secrets to the wind, a young shaman roamed the vast lands, forever ageless and eternally wise. His presence was felt by many tribes, each one sharing tales of his remarkable journey through the spirit realm, a realm alive with the energies of the ancestors and the whispers of the earth. The young shaman, with eyes like pools of ancient wisdom, was known for his extraordinary ability to traverse the skies and the woods, often transforming into a magnificent wolf. By day, his form shimmered like smoke, blending seamlessly with the mist that rolled across the valleys. At night, he embodied the essence of the darkest black, a shadow against the silver glow of the moon, embodying the mysteries of the night. He did not travel alone. By his side was another wolf, a creature of pure night, whose fur absorbed the moonlight and reflected only the depth of the cosmos. Together they roamed the astral planes, forging paths through dreams and visions, guiding lost spirits back to their resting place and uncovering truths hidden from the living. As they journeyed, the young shaman and his companion encountered many spirits, each with their own stories and lessons. They visited the mountains where the winds sang of ancient battles, and the rivers which carried the memories of the lost loved ones, and the forests where the trees whispered secrets of creation. With each encounter, the shaman gathered wisdom, weaving it into the fabric of his being, a tapestry rich with the colors of life and death, joy and sorrow. The tribe spoke of him in reverent tones, sharing his legends around flickering fires. Some called him the Wanderer, others the Dreamweaver. Yet, no matter the name, his essence remained unchanged, a bridge between the worlds, a protector of the sacred balance. One fateful night, as the moon hung like a silver coin, the shaman and his dark companion embarked on a journey to the highest peak. It was said that at the summit the veil between worlds was the thinnest, and the spirits gathered to share their wisdom. As they ascended, the air grew thick with magic, and the stars danced like fireflies in the night sky. At the peak, they encountered a council of ancient spirits, luminous and wise. The spirits spoke of a great imbalance threatening the tribes, a chasm of fear and misunderstanding that had begun to widen. The young shaman listened intently, his heart heavy with the weight of his responsibility. He understood that it was his duty to guide the tribes back to harmony, to remind them of their shared roots and the strength of unity. With the council's blessing, he returned to the earth, carrying the wisdom of the spirits. He traveled from tribe to tribe, weaving tales of connection, teaching the importance of understanding and compassion. He spoke of the power of shared stories, how they could heal wounds and mend broken bonds. As time flowed like a river, the young shaman continued to be part of the tribes, his legends growing with each passing season. He became a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder that while the world may change, the ties of kinship and the spirit of the land would endure. And so the young shaman, ageless and ever present, roamed the realms, forever a part of the stories told around the flickering fires, a guardian of the spirit world and an eternal traveler in the hearts of those who believed. And yet
Yay!
it is very familiar. Very familiar. And in a way a testament of what would an enlightened being be. And a lot of source material that could be surrounding that one
Yeah.
in many different cultures across the globe. Okay, you, sir, have the last one on that.
Okay. This is guiding the people through history. In an age where the fabric of existence intertwined with the whispers of the earth, youthful form roamed the lands, embodying wisdom beyond his years. Accompanied by a magnificent wolf, the pair traversed the vast landscapes, delving into the rich histories of tribes scattered across the realm. Their journey was not merely one of exploration, it was a sacred mission to guide the lost essences of life into the embrace of the spirit realm. As they moved through valleys and mountains, they encountered tribes steeped in rich traditions, each with their own story of triumph and sorrow. The air shimmered with the memories of ancestors, and the shaman would often pause, eyes closed, as he listened to the echoes of their laughter and cheers. The wolf, a creature of the night, stood vigil beside him, its presence a comforting shadow amidst the flickering lights of tribal fires. In one village, the shaman found a community mourning the loss of a beloved elder. He felt the heavy hearts of the people and the spirit lingering, caught between worlds. With gentle words and a calming presence, he led a ceremony under the starlit sky where the villagers shared their memories, weaving a tapestry of love that enveloped the elder's essence. The wolf howled softly, its voice merging with the wind, guiding the spirit to the light where it could join the ancestor. In another settlement, he witnessed a tribe divided by fear and misunderstanding, their unity crumbling like autumn leaves. Sensing the urgency of the situation, the shaman gathered the people around a sacred fire. He shared tales of connection, of how their histories and fates were intricately linked. The wolf danced around the flames, its movements a reminder of the wild spirit that lived within them all. As they shared their stories, walls of division began to dissolve, and laughter echoed through the night, mending the frayed ties that bound them. As the seasons changed, the duo journeyed to the edge of a great river, where the currents carried the memories of countless lives. Here, a spirit lingered, trapped by grief over a life left unfulfilled. The shaman knelt by the water, inviting the villagers to join him in honoring the spirit's journey. The wolf stood guard, its gaze steady as the people cast offerings into the river, tokens of love and remembrance. The water shimmered, and the spirit, finally released from its earthly ties, drifted into the depths, embraced by the flow of time and memory. Through lush forests and arid plains, the shaman and his companion continued their quest, helping essences of life transition with grace. They encountered warriors seeking redemption, mothers yearning for lost children, and dreamers trapped in their own fears. Each encounter was a lesson, a reminder of the delicate balance between life and the spirit realm. With each soul guided, the young figure and his book grew in wisdom and strength. Their bond deepened, becoming a reflection of the unity they sought to inspire among the tribes. Together they became conduits of the stories of the past, weaving together the threads of existence into a rich tapestry which celebrated the beauty of life, death, and rebirth. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of gold and crimson, the shaman and his companion would often pause to reflect on their journeys. They understood that their purpose was not just to guide the lost, but to remind the living of their shared heritage and the sacred connection that bound them to one another and the earth. In the hearts of the tribe, the tales of the ageless wanderer and the dark wolf became legends, whispered around flickering fires. They became symbols of hope, resilience, and the eternal journey between worlds, forever echoing the truth that while life may ebb and flow, the spirit remains a constant force, guiding all souls home.
I like that one. I like that again, guiding home, which would be the balance, right? Life and death,
Yeah,
rebirth. So guiding it into more of a balanced space and souls, because souls don't always have to be humans,
yeah,
even though it seems that humans seems to be the most lost most of the time. But souls
yeah,
can take on any shape or form and transform and grow. So, and sharing the stories.
yep, right. Yeah, stories.
Well, I mean, a lot of that is legend as we see, because we have a lot of people that are storytellers that we see throughout history. And so, where does the storyteller come from?
Mhm.
I happen to like it. So, thank you. With that, I think that was the end of what we had did for stories.
Yeah,
And we have been going for about an hour, a little bit more than an hour actually, which is normal in some of our lives. We make a very long recording, but that's okay. And I will do the best to get it up, whether through the podcast on Spotify, and yet there's more difficulties with that, technically, anyway. If not, it will go, obviously, it'll go on YouTube, and we can share that around, as well as any other the platforms that we may want to post it on. So, and if anybody wants to join, you can jump into Bucky's Discord. I'll put the link on there. Do you want the one for Tales on the Winds of Time, or one of the other Discords that you have?
Probably just the main Discord, and then we could always just share out the other ones.
Okay. All right, we'll do the
Like
main one,
we've been doing.
which I believe is your powwow one, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll do that one, and then anybody that, if you'd like, you can actually join in this chat while we're recording it and add more perspective in, and it would make a great talking point to see what other people think as well.
Yeah.
All right.
And make sure you buy the book.
Yep.
Join the Discord. It's on Amazon, or you could get it on your phone. You can go to Barnes and Noble and a whole bunch of other places.
All right. And I will put that link in there. Your Tales on the Winds of Time book cover is actually on the recording right now. It's pictured on the top, on the front of it, so you'll be able to see that as well. All right. And until the
Thank
next
you
one,
for listening, Rose.
and thank you for telling, thank you for writing them. So until the next one, and I hope there will be good ones, because there usually are. Thank you, Bucky.